the weather. And a wonderful morning to Mr. Onimide. It is so good having you with us. Your organization has been a worthy partner in our fight for an egalitarian society, one where transparency, accountability, and good governance is primed. Thank you very much.
Right. So, they are panelists, as I said, they will be asking you questions and making comments as the conversation progresses. So, let's begin, of course, with the report. Of course, we've had different cases of budget padding in the past. I remember Abdulmimik Jibrin in 2016, thereabout, Aliyu Ndume, Abdul Ningi last year, I believe. Some of these allegations have come up in the past. But the most recent one, which was highlighted in my introduction earlier, speaks to the padding of the budget with projects valued above 5 billion naira each, with a cumulative value of 2.9 trillion naira, were inserted with little or no justification. Can you tell us about the methodology that budget usually employs, in terms of uncovering these alarming figures that are inserted into the budget?
Yeah, thanks so much. And I would say that we are a rigorous organization, and I think the data is very evident to us. And so we also track the budget. We have been involved in budget since our founding in 2011. And what we focus on is we have a graph of proposed budget that was presented by executive, and also the key numbers, and also the clear line items. Then we also have graphs of approved budget that was presented by the National Assembly for the President's signature. What we see is that we also now drag into the capital projects that is put under separate and different agencies, and now use our own methodology and our own internal data team to pull out the projects that are different. So separating just adding to the budgets, irrespective of whatever size they have, then being able to bring that forward and say, okay, these are the projects that were added, inserted, and revised in the approved budgets. I would say that when we look at these things, we are not saying that the National Assembly do not have appropriation powers to adjust the budget. They do have. We believe that it's their the Constitution is not fully clear on the extent or the limitations of that power. But as an organization, we believe the National Assembly has the power to adjust the budget. The only thing in our head is with great power comes with great responsibility. And also you do things in honor or in service to the broader public goal. Not when you're trying to insert items to the budget at scale, for your own natural benefit or your own political expediency. So those are the issues that are fundamental.
Right. Thank you very much. And as you said, your comments in the last part sort of captures what the National Assembly have said, regarding the reports released by your organization. They say, look, there's nothing like padding, that they have the powers to make adjustments, the appropriation powers, within the budget. So how do you draw the line between exercising those powers and, going beyond those powers to, let me use the term, insert projects that are bogus and do not necessarily address the actual needs of the people? So how do we draw the line? Because you mentioned earlier that it looks like the Constitution itself is not clear as to the extent of the powers of these lawmakers.
Yeah, and I think it's just first also looking at this from what exactly is the budget, and because that answer can come in multiple forms. The budget is, when presented and when signed into law, is an act of the National Assembly. It's a law in itself. Second thing also is a tool for planning. So the budget is not just about dumping serial or several items into a document. It's a tool to engender national development by planning. The thing that is really fundamentally wrong with our budget is that it is not tied to any form of planning initiative or any form of planning agenda. And I think that's the first problem that we get with the budget. And that's why even you see we declare huge amounts of the budget. We say we execute 44% of the budget. 44% of what? Because first, we have not used that instrument to plan this country. We say how much trillions we've borrowed in recent years, see how much money we've received from either from oil, from non-oil revenues. And I keep telling people, I can't drive for 200 kilometers in Southwest without in a very smooth sailing road. There is none of that. And just because we're trying to do too much for the budget that does not achieve any broader national objective. It's mainly tied to personal, like I want to have these drone shots of sewing machines, washing, bike motorcycles, tricycles, and call it the empowerment program at sheer scale. And those are where everybody keeps hustling and everybody keeps putting pressure on the Nigerian Treasury Office to deliver the resources for them. So our biggest problem with the budget first is that it's not tied to national planning. It's much more fulfilling narrow political agenda. The second thing you have also with this issue is the fragmentation of the budget. Executive had already presented over 30,000 projects already in the budget. You go ahead and add another 11,000. The way it was, Nigeria have the state capacity to deliver something thousand projects in a single year. It's not there. It's not possible. It's not available. So you have a situation where we have a budget with too many projects, and so we are not even deciding when we should have been streamlining some of these projects and get them to focus. And those are the situations. The third thing you see also within this is also what exactly is the unit cost. Because if I'm doing almost 500 street lights or almost 300 bulbs or almost 5,000 and I'm arriving at billions of naira, I'm asking myself, how did you arrive at that number? So how many bulbs are you, how many street lights are you building? Because it's a problem for us as an organization that when we look at unit cost, it doesn't align with what we see. It's not feasible, or it sounds like there's an opportunity for crime or for fraud there. My final point is also how MDAs are being shaken down, or even how MDAs have now become notorious for this, because it's a two-way problem. Now we have a situation that I might be the chairman of committee on maybe on space technology. Let me just use that word. Because I'm chairman of committee of space technology, the MD that is running space technology must do boreholes in my local community, must provide street lights for me. I care less about what space committee of technology is, what the mandate is. I'm much more concerned about how much do I insert in that agency for my own personal benefit. And that's what you get to see. MDAs that do not have the requisite mandate. So you see a school of oceanography. You see, and there are some agencies that are now very notorious. I was inside of a letter recently where an MDA wrote a member of the National Assembly asking them that they should cite constituency project in their agency. Wrote them, and they asked, and you could see that some agencies have become heavily notorious for this. Federal Cooperative College, or G-River, and the National Building Research Road Research Institute. The federal agencies that will present the capital budget of 24 billion. And next thing, they are having capital project of 800 billion naira, just because they are National Assembly members have entered into it on only part that you fast track procurement for them. And along that entire chain, everybody's taking a percentage cut. Either the person who is doing procurement on G-River, either the person that is leading on G-River, either the treasury person that's going to release the money, or the choice of the contractor. The entire process is not
right. Mr. Onigwede, please, I need you to hold that thought. Please hold that thought. We need to go on a commercial break. When we get back, we'll continue the conversation. If you're just joining us, it's the Podium on 32 FM 94.9. Our guest this morning is Mr. Seun Onigwede, is the founder and CEO of Budget Nigeria, a civic tech organization fighting for transparency and accountability in government spending. We'll be back in a moment. Don't go away.
Welcome to Bet Great. Bet on sports. Confirm bonus up to 350% and stand a chance to win with Bet Great. You can cash out and auto cash out whenever you want. So you're always in charge. Now casino game you want? You can pilot yourself with Bet Great on Aviator and much more. And be in cruise control. Join using promo code GOAL and get your welcome free bet. Experience these and much more in our shops or online on betgreat.com. Be great. Bet Great. Bet responsibly. Only 18 plus.
When is 32 FM Children's Day Party? Where is 32 FM? Can we really celebrate without them?
We hear those thoughts loud and clear. And as usual, we dare not disappoint you. Get ready for the biggest and most anticipated Children's Day event in Ibadan. Smart Kids and Parents Hangout Season 7. Happening live at Palms Mall Ring Road, Ibadan on Sunday, May 25th, 2025.
It's a day of awesomeness. And guess what? All rides are free. Giant bouncy castles that will make you bounce with joy. Face painting and slime station. Smart quiz battles. Prove you're a genius. Mommy versus daddy games, lime and spoon, bowl and basket. Family fun is guaranteed.
Don't miss this fantastic day of bonding, learning, and laughter. Tickets are just 5,000 naira. Smart Kids Parent and Children Hangout Season 7, May 25th, 2025. Palms Mall Ring Road, Ibadan. Powered by 32 FM 94.9 Ibadan. Supported by Ride Ross Games. For more information, call Sumbo on 0704 017 4981 or Bolale on 0810 067 2518 for more info and sponsorship. Supported by Sunch Corn Sticks, Kellogg's, Hallelujah Oil, Fan Milk, Pop Cola, Boom, Design Bricks, Honorable Alawo, Viju, Accessibles, 712, Beta Jollof, and Techno.
Mr. Teacher, please, what happens when children come to school? How is it that they leave home very neat and return looking so different?
Non-stop action, ma. All the learning and sports burn energy. So those sweat stains, dirty uniforms and shoes, they show that your kid has been very active.
Now, wow.
Your kids need nourishing energy. Give them Milo at breakfast. It has nutrients that support energy release to help them get the most out of their day. Milo, energy to go further.
Milo!
Tifa bá wọlé tọ́ ní fàáfàá Jifa 32 FM, the happiness station, is ready to spread happiness again. Yes, ke? Time don reach for us to make our listeners smile again. Oh, are you ready? Ṣé ti dúró dédé? Àwùfù bẹ̀rẹ̀kẹ̀tẹ̀ don land like traffic light. If true, data is life. Na if you say recharge card go come you wait you. If your finger is fast and you are feeling lucky on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, then keep your dial locked on 32 FM 949 fẹ̀yẹ́. Nítorí òjò recharge card yóò máa rọ̀ ní gbogbo ọjọ́ Ìṣẹ́gun, Ọjọ́rú àti Ọjọ́bọ̀. Ìyẹn ní pé every Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday time go reach o. Àwùfù bẹ̀rẹ̀kẹ̀tẹ̀ go dey ṣẹlẹ̀ on top 32 FM 94.9 by 8 a.m., 11 a.m., 1 p.m., 5 p.m. Congo reach 7 p.m. Lẹ́yìn tó túmọ̀ sí pé láago mẹ́jọ òwúrọ̀, aago mọ́kànlá àárọ̀, aago kan ọ̀sán, aago márùn-ún àti aago méje àṣálẹ́. If it be red network, if it be green network, it still fit be yellow network. Any which way na way, your own na to stay alert and stay active on 32 FM. Ló bá tán, mọ́ gọ́ọ̀kì ẹ̀ láfàwọ́dá.
You want like Vinny Junior? Èmi tí mo phenomenal gangan.
My name is Teddy. Can't wait to see you on Sunday.
Feel better about your life.
32 FM 94.9, the antidote to depression.
Welcome back. It's the Podium on 32 FM 94.9. If you're just joining us, our guest this morning is Mr. Seun Onigbide. He is the founder and CEO of Budget Nigeria, civic tech organization advocating for transparency in government spending. We've been discussing the recent controversy trailing the 2025 budget. We can also watch us live on Facebook, 32FM 949 Fenye. Like the video, share, and comment as well. So, Mr. Onigbide, thank you for staying with us. I'd like you to finish your line of thought and also answer this question before we go to our panelists. I mean, does it look like constituency project is actually the big issue here? Because from your analysis and some of the numbers I'm looking at, does it look like these insertions, when they happen, they are hidden under, constituency projects? That's one. Number two, what is your position on constituency projects? Because there are those who have said that it's usually, a conduit pipe for funds to be siphoned. You talked about, providing sewing machine, wheelbarrows, and all of these things, and spending billions of naira on these things every year with no impact on the people. So there are those who say lawmakers do not have any business, carrying out project. Their business is lawmaking, and that's what they should stick to. On the other side, some of these lawmakers also argue that constituency project is the only way they connect with their people. So I just want to get your thoughts on that. Is constituency project the big issue here? Is that where the insertion actually happens in the National Assembly? And what's your position on this constituency project? Should lawmakers have any business whatsoever carrying out projects, or they should just face their business of lawmaking?
I mean, it's a problem, and it's a problem that's ballooned beyond reasonable limits. I mean, there were constituency projects previously, and I don't think we complained significantly about them. There was a 100 billion naira fund for constituency projects, and that fund still exists. We were fine with National Assembly members, fitting all their constituency projects in that bracket. We were also, because it was okay. For you to say, okay, I want to give something back to my constituency. Even the budget has moved from 4 trillion naira to 54 trillion naira, as it was before. Man, you could move that money from 100 billion naira to like maybe 500 billion naira, and we will still have a reasonable. I will still be like, okay, 500 billion naira in a budget of 54 trillion, that's less than 1% of the budget. That would be reasonable. Everybody will understand that this is where I fit in my constituency project. And you can even attach those constituency projects to the requisite agencies that are meant to deliver them. Not just talking things in different agencies, looking for a way to shake them down. But the idea of you just brazenly, without any limits, without any form of restraint, talking in projects in different agencies. And you have so many people, you would even think that they are the local government chairman of the state, of a carrier, was the size of project that they're bringing into the environment at the detriment of other national priorities. Nigeria does not have a final pool. Even if you have a final pool, a chunk of that is drawn from borrowing money for public debt. So the problem we are facing here is lack of fiscal discipline. If we want to consume project, we should cap it. We should put it within the limit. And everybody, even within the executive and the legislation, starts that cap and fits into that cap. And that whatever you're putting in the budget is not tied to your own personal benefit or a local constituency. It's much more of a national project or a national benefit. And that's how I believe it's supposed to be. But what we are right now, there is no control. It's like the bull in the China shop. Everywhere is just messy with the way projects are just being talked around.
Right. Okay, so you don't have a problem with the funds. It's just that you want them to create a cap for it so that, you don't just pump money into this project. So you're not saying maybe lawmakers should just face the business of lawmaking and leave the project for the executive. As you said, some of them are even taking over what is meant for local government or state governors in their respective states. Lawmakers fixing road and all of that. Yes.
Yeah, when constituency projects started, it was not just to intervene some micro level issues within local communities. I mean, we have been trying constituency projects, and we've been analyzing for the last 7 years. It was more geared to supporting with the school or the health clinic. That was where the focus. But those things began to support a broader number of people. But these days, almost 74% of the constituency projects are now empowerment projects. You understand? And those are tied to giving sewing machines, giving tricycles, giving motorcycles to a narrow set of people, a narrow elite that will benefit them politically, a narrow elite that even do not even need those things. I mean, we've seen scenarios, those things are distributed, they are being sold at cheap or at a discount right outside the complex itself. So those are the situations. Right. Most of this use of public resources is too fragmented. And it's not just serving the broader public goal.
Right. Let's go to our panelists now. Let me start with Prof. Prof, you have the floor. Hello, Prof. Oh, Prof is not with us. Barrister, are you with us?
Oh, yes,
Yes.
Toba.
All right.
Let me once again welcome our guest. Now, the legislature is important in determining the direction of public policy. It is the most significant determinant of the pace of development in any organized human society. It is also to be noted that the level of development of any society is a reflection of the quality and efficacy of the legislature as representatives of the electorate. Now, our guest, I know that your concern majorly is monitoring the legislature to ensure that the nation's funds are spent judicially and judiciously while ensuring safeguards against wastages and loopholes for financial harakiri. I want to take you back to the Lagos Calabar project. From what we gathered, that project was not subjected to due process. As a matter of fact, some believe that it is a deliberate attempt by those in authority to use the money, or the project rather, as a cash cow for the 2027 elections. Now, I want to ask you, is there any allocation in terms of funds for that project in the new budget?
Yeah, Mr. Onigbede.
Yes, I'm with you, sir.
Yes, the question is for you, sir.
I mean, if you look at the Calabar project, like the
Barrister.
barrister asked, yeah, there is no proper allocation. If you remember, when the proposed budget was presented by the executive, we made a big case against the fact that there is no proper allocation of what is meant to be a 1 trillion naira outlay. We know that project did not have its proper EIA. We know that project did not even have the proper allocation, the budget allocation before it was presented. Even this current budget, the budget, even in this current budget, there was no allocation for it until we raised the alarm and they said it was an error on their part that they did not put allocation for it. So I don't think the budget has been the proper allocation for it as it should have been in some sort of way. So the Calabar project, there's no proper allocation for it.
All right, let's go to Prof. Prof?
Yes. Thank you very much. There was a mix-up in my pressing of the button. That was what happened previously.
Yeah,
I think that budget chief is doing a great job. And you raised the issue, Yusuf, concerning methodology.
Oh, sorry, Prof. I'm hearing a feedback. I don't know where it's coming from. Okay, yes. Thank you. So go ahead, Prof.
Yeah, which has always been the target of those who want to challenge the claims that you make. I also know that beyond public publicizing some of your work, there are occasions where you have also gone to court. It is interesting the way you have engaged the National Assembly, but I think that the general public will also like to know whether it is intelligence you are doing, or it is just analysis that you're doing, or you actually do have your own method of investigating these realities and how you make your inference or draw your conclusion. It would be interesting for us to hear from you some of those methodologies that make your findings so important for Nigerians to take them seriously. Because the ways that the National Assembly and other government agencies have done is to try to either discredit your methodology or ignore your claims completely. I would want you to dwell on that a little bit more.
Yeah, Mr. Nimbide.
To be honest with you, our methodologies are open and beyond what we publish in the press, there's a deeper shift. Because we have not, from starting up 11 years in there, we're not a good organization. And that's why we are, to say, give the National Assembly, and let me not say that there's nothing of this. This thing happened last year. We mostly engaged the National Assembly, the House Leader, we engaged the legislators, we engaged the Office of the Speaker, we wrote letters even to the Presidency. We explained that this is a bogus trend that does not engender national development. So it's not what I was trying to say, we're trying to be a rabble rouser. We're trying to be more clear that this is not how national development works. And that this whole process is opening opportunity for fraud, for corruption, and for abuse. And we made that claim. We were clear with that claim in our engagement. When this budget came out, we looked into it again. What was the proposed budget? That's the first thing we're trying to analyze. What was the proposed budget? What is the approved budget? And what does that look like entirely? You understand? And if this is what it is entirely, how much of the proposed budget was added? How much was added to which project? Which kinds of projects? And if this was a national project like 10 billion, 20 billion, because the executive has presented the budget, people make a lot of adjustments to that project, and maybe the project was saying to the 2 billion, it's added a bit, or it had a main project. This is the federal government budget kind now, but this is not socialist LCDA project. But you've seen a lot of fragmentation of it. 10 million, 20 million naira worth of projects in multiple scales across different little geopolitical zones. I mean, federal districts, those are our own significant problems. That this is the national budget, this is the federal government. Let's reflect the priorities that the federal government should be focused on. Not somebody not only using it as an opportunity to start their own. But the other people are trying to run for maybe governorship, and we know this. They're trying to run for governor and then focus on their mandates. All they are looking for is how can I be in a position to use these budgets to serve myself. And so you now say, I mean, if you have two senators who stand side by side, in the eyes of the people, it should be this senator is working, that one is not working. Is the efficiency project is supposed to be the primary responsibility of a lawmaker? No. But if everybody gets it, 200 million, 500 million, and everybody knows that that's what you're supposed to work with, then that's fine. It's fair across board. But the situation where I'm able to put 20 billion, you put 1 billion, you now look and say, oh, he's not working because he's not doing the empowerment project. We are distorting the entire agenda of what the legislator should be, and that's our own position.
Right. I mean, you talked about some of these ministries, departments, and agencies of government earlier, and you sort of brought to the fore the question of whether we can exonerate the executive from all of this, because the focus has been on National Assembly members. So from your years of advocacy, talk to us about some of the things you've been able to uncover in terms of how the executive or this civil servant might be complicit in all of this. I think you gave an example of where you saw a letter where the MD of an agency was asking the lawmaker to ensure that the site constituency project, within his domain. So, I mean, the National Assembly cannot do all of this by themselves. Is there complicity on the part of the civil servant and the executive in preparing this budget before it's eventually submitted to the lawmakers for amendment and then final passage into the Appropriation Act?
mean, they don't make there's always a hearing, definitely. And sometimes we are even in those hearings. And those hearings, those hearings are not when these shows happen. It's not like you go to a hearing and say, well, I'm going to put 10 street lights or 5 solar bulbs in your budget. No, that's not how you work. The hearing will maybe more the MD defending what has been presented by the executive. Whatever the legislators are going to add to the budget, they do that in their own volition, in their own time, even after the hearing has happened. So nobody comes to a hearing and says, oh, I'm looking at your budget, I think I should put 10 solar bulbs there. The hearings are more of that place. And most of the Nigerian MDs are poorly funded, as they should be. And even not poorly funded, you see that even they themselves do not have a clear mandate of what they should be funding. So you find an agency is more preoccupied with building their headquarters, maybe in Abuja, maybe whenever it's cited. When it happens to your mandate, if you're a cocoa research institute, for example, we look into your budget and find project items related to cocoa research institute. When you're just trying to build another HQ, trying to provide cars and trying to provide benefit for your own personnel. Those are the issues. I mean, you just the agency's budget to reflect their mandate or to reflect their purpose. Because then nobody just says, this is your envelope. The envelope is 700 million naira, or the envelope is 10 billion naira. Go and fill up your envelope. And so after it was even saying, fill up an envelope that is linked to your own agenda or to your purpose or to your school. This is in charge of making sure that happens. Everybody just feels whatever they feel works for them, it works for their purpose, and at the end of the day, if the agency achieving purpose, is it doing what they're supposed to do? Is it transforming the society? No, nobody's paying attention to that. Everybody's paying attention that they have the budget. We're analyzing if that budget is implemented. So that's why I'm saying that the problem is that we have a document that is in part of the National Assembly. It's in the law, facts. But we don't have a budget that is focused heavily on serving the public or even connected to a form of national plan across border. That's why everybody does whatever they can find in the budget under the disguise that they have appropriation funds. It's not supposed to. So I don't see any system where we have copied that. I don't see any society that is developed where a budget must have a key element of discipline. You see that in the US and the UK, you see that everywhere everybody talks about, everybody cares about it, everybody interrogates every single item that gets in and make sure that it's within certain permissible boundaries. I think that's the same point we're making it.
Right.
The importance of fiscal discipline.
And I mean, as I said, this thing has happened as it's a persistent issue. We saw it play out in 2016 with Mimi Jibrin being suspended by members of the House of Representatives, Abdul Ningi, I think, last year. So why do you think, something this, concerning has persisted for a while? Is it because Nigerians do not have a basic understanding of how budgeting process works to be able to, uncover some of these, to be able to digest some of the discoveries your organization has been able to uncover, the magnitude of this insertion and the magnitude of this padding of this budget? Is that why do you think it has persisted over the years? And then how do you ensure that some of these lawmakers who speak up against it, you see how they are treated? They are either suspended and they are sort of ostracized within the National Assembly. So does it look like the system itself has been built in such a way that those who want to speak up are coerced into silence at the end of the day?
Yeah, I think that's what you get. I mean, a lot of times people have speaked up. Maybe not speak up with full facts, but you see people who are also worried about it. If you speak to the budget office, they are worried about it. Speak to National Assembly, they are worried about it. If you speak to whoever you speak about it within, they're worried about it, and they are saying to themselves, how long is this going to continue? But nobody's bold enough, and I think that's what you get in Nigeria. Nobody wants to be bold enough, just for the political economy of this. It's the way to grease the National Assembly's palms, their hands to continue, and that's why you find maybe the political economy of defections and these endorsements and all of that. Everybody's happy. The resource agencies are having record revenues, the state government are having record revenues, National Assembly members are having free for all opportunity to put things into the budgets. You understand? So maybe it makes that great case. But the only way I think we've dimensionally further that from the National Assembly side, it's going to be hard to restrain them without some form of executive pushback. If the president specifically, who is supposed to lead this whole process of public leadership and all that, if the president himself is not big on the fact that this cannot continue, this is not appropriate and all of that, the president himself is not big on that position, there's little we can do. The citizens are aware, they know this. But I mean, as you could see, as many things in Nigeria, what are the opportunities for them? A lot of people are asking us, we just want development either ways. But development at one point, and that's what so we keep asking. Public resources are not financed. Even if you have to borrow, not to pay back on what. But how do we connect these issues to a larger population? I think that's the major problem. And that's what you expect the executive to do. Instead of focus about what exactly I'm trying to achieve, that's the problem.
Yeah. I mean, as you said, the budget is, a planning document. And when you plan, you make projections, you set benchmark. For instance, the benchmark was set to produce 2.06 million barrels per day. We are not able to meet it. The price of crude oil in the international market is fluctuating below the $70 per barrel that was projected to be in the budget that was, passed into law, which means that, the government might also have to borrow again to fund deficit in the 2025 budget. Yes, you have the National Assembly again, in certain projects worth more than 6 trillion naira. I mean, what does that say to you in terms of how some of these leaders, set priority for the country? Because it is clear now from some of this indication, what is happening internationally to the crude oil market and even to the exchange rate as well, that the projections and the benchmarks set in the 2025 budget are no longer realistic. So why then insert projects worth 6 trillion naira into the same budget and making the government go to borrow again to fund the deficit?
I mean, it's staggering. That's how shocking we also find it. That's why we put an item in the budget, and when we know that some of these projects, or this budget is not tied to any form of impact or results. I mean, it's shocking from our own side. The budget benchmark were around 60, 65. I think some of the consensus I'm seeing from the Middle East and with Trump, that a $60 budget, a $60 oil is decent enough for their growth. Is it okay for us? No. Even from the non-oil projection, we don't see that still yet. We don't know what is up to. We know that there's a still milestone from that still for them space. But we know that you need a lot of fiscal discipline, even from your monetary stability. Because if you keep having so much unproductive money, chasing the dollar, even at the retail level, it's a problem for your currency stability. That way you look at it.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that those who work with the government or those who support the government say is that they've been able to get more money to the subnationals based on the removal of subsidy. That there's been an increase in FAC allocation. That people should now pay attention to these subnationals, the state governments and what have you, to be able to monitor how they spend this money, and ensure transparency, at that level. What do you make of that argument? And also, I'd like you to speak to whether or not your advocacy has also involved, scrutinizing state government budget as well, because there's this feeling that, there's this over concentration or what happens at the center, making governors get away with a lot of things. You see governors announcing bogus projects, building airports, and you ask yourself, what's the relevance of this airport to a state where you have mostly remote communities or farming villages? What's the relevance of this international airport in some of the states? So those two issues, are the first one, those who say that there's more money to the state, that people should pay attention. The other one, whether or not your advocacy also involves scrutinizing spending at the state level as well.
Yes. I mean, we pay attention to spending at the state level. And that's, we have an annual report for state of state. We release that on the yearly basis, even at the 10th edition. And that's the most significant or the most strongest documents you'll find when it comes to subnational fiscal data in the country. It's used by a lot of state governments. We rank state government on an annual basis in terms of their performance and all of that. So it's it's very important to us that we focus on sub-national. We don't have the capacity to go everywhere inside, deep down. But we are also having a report on sub-national budgeting coming out soon, where we are looking at the budget, key items, the key outcomes to the project, and we're also going to possibly publish that.
Right.
I hope we get that kind of scale of interest that the federal government gets, because some of these are also not our problem. It's also about citizens themselves being more activated to discuss of national projects, because it seems when you put that out there, people like it, people love it, but people are not as engaged as it should be.
So what about the other aspect as well, in terms of the government saying that there's more money to the state governments and that people should pay attention now? Ask your governors. That's what they're saying. I'd like you to also speak to that as well.
It's obvious that state governments have more money. It's very, very obvious that state governments have more money. Everybody can say, I'm sure when we did the maths, each state governor has got at least 64% increase in their monthly allocation. At least, I mean, some even have far more than that. And the question that I'm asking myself is, to what end? What is changing? Are they delivering the goods? Are they spending on the right capex? It's not just about that we are spending on capital projects. Are you spending on the right capital projects? And so, for us, the state governments, we are critical and important partners in progress. So, if the Nigeria is failing or falling or progressing, it's also because we have strong state governments also doing their work or pulling their shifts. That's the way we see it ourselves. So, majorly, it's just keep putting the pressure on for the state government. We don't think we see enough of that, even from the citizens. But I think when we bring our analysis, we will see dimension of how state governments are funding more. Those this new weak forms that they have received due to the devaluation of the currency. We see putting more money in the hands of critical capital projects, or is it just expanding the scale of governance in some sort of way? And I think when our analysis is held by John, we empirically answer those answers.
Right. Okay, let's go to Barrister now. Barrister, you have the floor.
Okay. Thank you very much. Now, Mr. Onigbede, your group flagged the 2025 budget for a number of reasons. There are disconcerting allegations in your claims against the 2025 budget. For instance, non-inclusion of budget breakdowns for several MDAs, absence of budget from over 60 government-owned enterprises, and more worrisome, including the Nigerian Ports Authority and the Nigeria Customs Service. 2, could you please expatiate on the claims of allocating 2.49 trillion naira to regional development commissions under personnel costs, which according to your organization obscures operational expenses? I want you to throw more light on these issues.
Right, Mr. Onigbede.
Thanks so much for that observation. I guess some of the observation that we brought out when the proposed budget was presented, we brought out that some of these allegations and some of these issues persist, and we're asking that the government pay attention to them. And I'll take them one by one. I'll start from the last. First is the issue of the regional development commissions. We don't fully agree with them. We think it's just adding an extra layer of bureaucracy to development. Most of the things that these agencies or these commissions can deliver are already situated in MDs already. So If you want to deliver a regional rail line in Southwest, for example, why do we need a regional development commission to do it? We understood the issue of NEDC, how it came about, because it was germane to the injustices and the challenges in that environment. I mean, this is what we don't get. We just want to push back. So technically, we have challenges with that. The second thing also has to do with MDAs that do not have details in the budget. We have been fighting that. We've been questioning that. But we have some results that has been tied to that. So we kind of very important to discuss that more. Some of those NDAs we are yet to see the breakdown because they're going to be published after the budget. Last year, they were published. MDA details of GOEs, the government-owned enterprise, were published after the budget was released. So we'll keep putting that pressure on for the publication of those GOE budgets. The other part is the publication of the details of the budget. So I think some of the regional commissions under the personnel costs, I think that's an oversight. What we have seen in the current budget is that has been, changed in some time.
Mr. Onigbede, it sounds like you're on the move, so the line is breaking. So I missed what you said about the last part where you talked about Regional Development Commission. So if you could just take us through that again. I think like if you perhaps are able to sit in a particular location so that we can have a smooth conversation properly. Can you hear me? Oh, it appears we lost connection with him. We've lost connection with him. We'll try and reconnect with him. But as we try to reconnect with Mr. Onigbede, Prof, I wanted to also get your thoughts on the issue of constituency projects and drawing a line between, appropriation powers and insertion, because the argument of the National Assembly members is that, we are lawmakers. When the budget is passed, it becomes law. Therefore, we have the powers to amend, whatever has been written in the first place. So I'd like you to speak to those issues, constituency projects and drawing that line between appropriation and, insertion. Hello, Prof. Hello, Prof.
Yes, I'm here. I can hear you.
Did you get my question?
No, we can no longer hear what's going on from the studio.
Oh, okay. Apologies for that. I think we're back now. So I was asking you that. I was saying that we lost connection with Mr. Onigbede. We'll try to reconnect with him. But meanwhile, I wanted to get your thoughts on, the powers of lawmakers, because the argument is that they have, powers to amend this budget, and that what they're doing is not in session. So how do we now balance both the powers of a lawmaker to amend a document that becomes law when it is passed, and drawing a line between that and in session? That's one. Number two is the issue of constituency projects as well, because the argument of many people is that these projects have no impact directly on the people. Why spend billions every year on them at the end of the day? And it looks like that's the big elephant in the room when it comes to this alleged padding of the budget, that's where these projects are hidden, constituency projects.
Yes, I think that these two issues were very hot during the time of President Olusegun Obasanjo, because at that time, both the National Assembly and the presidency were trying to define their roles and their powers in relation to the budget process. Regarding the first question, which is the powers of the National Assembly to amend the budget, there are actually two traditions. The first tradition is that the National Assembly do not have power to increase or decrease the budget, but they have a power to move resources around different sectors and different areas, which you find in some presidential systems, especially in the United States, for instance. But in the second tradition is that they have a right to change it the way they like, either to increase it or to reduce it. And that's the second tradition that is now obtaining in Nigeria. So once the money gets to, the budget gets to the National Assembly, They can increase it, they can reduce it, they can introduce new things into the budget. So they have very wide powers. And the idea is that the National Assembly will act as a check, on the executive. But what we have found is that the National Assembly is busy looking for ways and means, to make resources available to their members, which takes us to the second question of constituency projects. And you remember, it was also a big issue under the Obasanjo government, where the Obasanjo showed that they were not only allocating resources to those constituency projects, they were also implementing the constituency project, which is contrary, to the separation of powers between the executive and the legislature. But what has happened, and then of course many senators, even including the presidents of the Senate, ran into trouble because they were accused of corruption, and many of them had to leave office. In fact, I think during the Obasanjo presidency, we had up to 4 Senate presidents as a result of these claims around constituency project and corruption, which created bad blood even within the National Assembly itself. The National Assembly could not cohere, especially the Senate, to withstand the onslaught of the strategies of President Olusegun Obasanjo. But over the years, I think both the president and the National Assembly, the subsequent presidents and National Assembly have reached some kind of, some people say, is it gentleman agreement or criminal collusion, that it seems that the president decided to close their eyes at what goes on with the constituency project as a form of bribe to the National Assembly. So the National Assembly, within the National Assembly, what they simply do is to compete among themselves to get as much money through the constituency project as possible. And if you also look at what has happened and what has been released by budget, you'll find that they connive with different government agencies through which they ferry that money out. You have some agencies that are very notorious for doing that. They are given responsibilities that are completely out of sync with their terms of reference or their responsibilities, like the Roads Research Institute and such very funny agencies. So that is what is going on right now. And what you find is that many of these constituency projects are never implemented. In fact, you don't even hear it in those local areas. And the government, of course, the FCC closed their eyes, the ICPC closed their eyes to what's going on with those constituency projects. That's why, otherwise, if they continue to investigate those projects the way Obasanjo did, the National Assembly would have been thoroughly embarrassed with the revelations that will come out of that place. And so it's really very great.
Right.
That the budget is not drawing the attention of Nigerians.
Okay, Prof, it looks like Mr. Onigbide is back with us. Mr. Onigbide, we lost connection with you earlier, and you were answering a question as regards the Regional Development Commission and some of the things you were able to uncover, in that report by your organization.
Yeah, I was just making that some of those regional commissions, they have been properly now aligned with what they're meant to be. And I think what they're meant to be is that they are meant to lead national development framework. That's supposed to be their focus points. And I think that's we're seeing elements of that happening right now. So for the development commissions, they are now under statutory transfers, and being under statutory transfers means that they now are properly captured. We have significant issues with them. In terms of their impact, in terms of what they're meant to be delivering, we have that issue with them. But at the end of the day, we're clear-minded in our heads that this is what the government has decided to do. We don't have a choice than to just abide by it. But they are now well captured, and we just have to do. The thing about these things is that you give an extra layer of work to citizens. Because that's a lot of work for people themselves. Some people are focused on the broader budget. Some people are now going to be focused on let me put it that way. Some people are now going to be focused on regional commissions. themselves. So those are the issues,
Right.
In some sort of way. But we'll keep fighting for it.
Yeah, I mean, let's move away from budget a bit now. In about a week or so, it's going to be exactly 2 years since the president was sworn in, and what the two big issues that have dominated the national discourse were those two policies: subsidy removal, floating of the naira. The subsidy is gone statement, of course, continues to generate a lot of reaction, and the floating of the exchange rate. The government argues that these policies have paid off, that the policy is yielding results. The country has been able to repay some of its loans. The external reserve is seeing a leap from $3 billion to $23 billion. They say some FX backlog that were owed some companies at the time, companies that could not repatriate their funds, have been cleared. Companies that were on the verge of shutting down are now declaring record profits. Banks are declaring record profits as well. They say, it means that these policies are working and there are better days ahead. So what's your assessment of these policies and the last 2 years of the Tinubu administration?
I think it's clear that some of these policies are necessary. Maybe we can discuss the sequence. We can discuss if they have an wholesome approach to it. I mean, number one, the bigger issue for me has always been the subsidy beyond the exchange rate parity. We have outlived, we can no longer afford for subsidy as it is. We can't afford that. And it's just very obvious that we needed to make a big decision around that. And I think we've done that. But we were not thoughtful. I mean, the current government, led by President Bola Tinubu, was not thoughtful with how that process went, in my own view. You had almost 1 year between the removal of subsidy and the negotiation for the minimum wage. We didn't have a clear-cut program on food inflation and how to counteract that. So, in some sort of way, the lag between the palliatives and the policy itself created untold hardship for the people. It was just too much of an hardship for a lot of people to bear. So for me, I look at it, I feel like, yeah, this was necessary. Same thing. And also, I also felt that there's some wider decisions that could have been made on the exchange rate to modulate the exchange rate. Because now, the problem is that the higher the weaker the currency is, the higher the price of petrol would be. If dollar to naira is around 1,200 today, it didn't mean the price of fuel would drop. And so those decisions could have been viewed and considered. It was a painful removal of the band-aid, and I looked at the social dimensions of some of these policies. A lot of Nigerians, I mean, people who live at the political level might not understand it. But we that will speak to most people in the grass will see that these policies are great untold hardship because they were not sequenced, they were not integrated, and even the palliative structure around it were not there. Overall view of the government, I pray they just do more governance because the decisions they have made a very big shift in Nigeria's political space. So my hope for them is that they pay more attention to governance. What I see more of this is more attention to there's more push for politics. I don't think we need that 2 years out from the next from the swearing of it. At least we should have at least 1 year of devoid of all of this politics from another 6 months. Because what I'm hearing left, right, and center is more like political defections, the coalitions, the endorsement, and all of that. I'm asking myself, I hope we are going to still pay attention to governments because Nigerians really need governments. The last 2 years have been significantly painful for them.
Right. Okay. Let's go to Prof now. Prof?
Yeah. Thank you. I'm happy that that beginning to talk about the state governors. I remember also using some of the products from your organization regarding the environment of doing business, the state GDP, quality of governance at different levels. And I think that the idea is you create some kind of ranking so that it generates some kind of consciousness of competitiveness among the subnational governments. My worry is that those very good research, very good products are in your website, but they are not frequently discussed in the media. They are not frequently used to evaluate the performance of subnational government. And I think something should be done to put those reports in the front burner, in the limelight, so that people who want to engage with state governments can use those results from the very good research to engage them, especially as we are getting close to the second, as we are entering the second segment of this 4-year term of this government. What's your take on the dissemination of this document? What challenges do you face, and how have those reports been received across sectors, whether within civil society, within the media, and also within the subnational governments?
I mean, we're an organization with limited resources, so we will do the research. And a lot of state governments use it more than we think. In a way, we love the World Bank rating agencies. They pay attention to our reports in a lot of ways. Our state governors reaching out to us saying this number is not right. But for things like state of state, we try to do advanced engagements with the state governments because we don't want to put something out there that is not truthful or that leads to that people can relate with it. So we're also big on the fact that have you seen it? You have issues with it. And if you don't have issues with it, you can give us feedback as regards that. So I would say that. So for the institutional part, I think we have engagement. I think the one where we have struggle with.
Mr. Nigbide, are you with us?
I think the one where we have, I think what we have struggled with is the citizens. How many citizens are engaging on these issues, and that's where we want to need more. We need more citizens to do more.
I think you mentioned earlier that looks like when you do a report on the national budget, it gets more traction from the people than the subnationals. Why do you think people are fixated on what happens at the center when the state and local government are actually closer to them, and that one impacts their lives more than what happens at the center?
I think it's just normal. Everybody thinks that, and the lack of knowledge. Everybody thinks their problem is the federal government problem. The roads, the schools, the hospitals, the primary health, everything is the federal government problem. So secondly, it's also policy. Economy is a major thing. People should understand that macroeconomy is critical because that's what now determines the price of food, fish, whatever. So a lot of people, when they see states are not in charge of fiscal and monetary policy, and that's critical to our things moving. So those are also one of the things that fit into the notion that the federal government is responsible for all of this.
Right. Barrister, you have the floor. Hello, Barrister. Yeah.
Yes, thank you very much. Please permit me. I will still remain with the budget. It is unfortunate that Nigeria has happened to the legislature, particularly the legislature at the center. And why do I come to this conclusion? It is very simple. The sacred responsibility of the legislature is identifying the ills of society and to articulate appropriate responses to them. The legislature appears to fall short of this sacred duty. It is disturbing that despite revelations of padding budgets in the past, the problem persists, as Mr. Onigbide has rightly alleged. Secondly, the legislature oversights executive spendings, but It is unclear who oversights constituency projects. There is a revelation that presently, under the Tinubu administration, averagely, a legislator gets at least ₦1 billion for constituency projects. If the legislature must ensure that the nation's funds are spent judicially and judiciously, and evidence suggests that the bulk of this amount is not evidenced in projects for constituents. My question, who oversights constituency projects?
Mr. Nigbide. Are you with us, Mr. Nigbide? Oh, it appears it's not with us. Can you hear me, Mr. Nigbide? Oh, it appears we've lost connection with him. It appears we lost connection with him. Yes, Prof. I mean, that's also a very important angle that Barrister has brought in. Maybe the Obasanjo government, when they were bringing this up, did not factor in the issue of oversight. Still, who monitors how these lawmakers spend the money at the end of the day.
No, the idea is really that the lawmakers don't spend the money. It's the ministry people that implement constituency projects. I remember your argument about having a National Assembly Commission, which is supposed to be separated from members of the National Assembly. The National Assembly Commission is supposed to be a bureaucracy, but which is under the National Assembly. What I don't know is whether it's the commission now that implements the constituency projects, or it is the line ministries that do it. And I think that these are gray areas where I think legal action needs to be taken to clarify all of these things.
Right.
What I took from my earlier comments is really that this legislator vie this money to some specific friendly or client agencies. And I think budget mentioned some of those agencies. They are given money to do constituency projects that do not fall within the remit of those agencies. And so it's as if the monies are just ferried through those agencies so the legislators can get it. And that's why I mentioned that it suggests some kind of complicity or conspiracy between the legislators and the executive. Because the idea is when these constituency projects are implemented, the executive are supposed to be free to open their searchlight on them, like the Obasanjo government used the EFCC, to investigate what is going on with the constituency project, and there were very damning reports about it. But of course, when you have, as I think Onibide made that point, that when you have a president or a government leader that is not interested in transparency or is not interested in anti-corruption, but he himself is involved in spending without accountability or extra budgetary spending. I mean, we talk about the Lagos Calabar highway, in which the government has invested so much money before even taking it to the National Assembly. So if you have a president that is not interested in accountability, then you have a big problem, because traditionally it was the president that was pressing for accountability, while members of the legislature that were supposed to hold the president or the executive account were actually struggling to enrich themselves in order to raise political money for elections. So it's an unfortunate situation that we are in, where horizontal accountability is not working. Rather, what you have is each arm of government supporting the other to be able to do whatever they like. And some people talk about the capture of the parliament now by the president. So we have a situation where the president controls parliament, and there's also a suggestion that with way money finances have been distributed, there's also an attempt to capture the judiciary. So when you have that kind of government capture by the presidency, then you can't be talking about accountability at all, because that's the last thing on the bill of the current administration.
Yeah, Mr. Nigbide, I think we lost connection with you when Barrister asked the question.
Yeah.
Yes, I was asking, who should be doing an oversight on the constituency project, because, of course, the lawmakers are not given the money directly. The money is channeled through a particular ministry, but who is supposed to monitor some of these things?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, the monitoring is the National Assembly. The business of the National Assembly is oversight, lawmaking, and also representation. And oversight is critical. And so, that's why the constituency project thing is a bit tricky. Because unless we want to assume that we live under the rock, the National Assembly member also involved in the procurement process. I mean, with the nomination of lead people who are involved in some of the TV of these projects. So it gives a lot of conflict of interest in that regard. So for me, I think National Assembly and members are also involved in this. And that's citizens must be like this third layer or this third party monitoring system. And that's what we have been doing with Tracker over the years, using Tracker to track all these complete projects and possibly doing that as much as possible. I'm sorry I might have to go right now. But it's a great opportunity to be on the podium. I have another commitment to News Central. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Sionibide. Unfortunately, you have to go, but it's been a pleasure having you on the podium. Thank you so much. But I don't know if you can. He's already gone. He's off the call already. But it's been a pleasure having him on the podium. I wanted to also chip in, Prof. Still on the issue of monitoring and tracking this agency. I know that the ICPC sometimes releases reports about how the funds have been spent and all of those, and also the lawmakers too try to exonerate themselves, saying that no, we don't get this 1 billion naira or whatever amount into our personal account. It's just channeled through a particular agency, and then some projects are earmarked for our members of our constituency. So that way, can we say that they are the ones, spending this funds? They are not the ones spending the funds. So if the ICPC is doing its tracking, it should focus on these agencies that are executing the project.
Yeah, but again, they can afford to be silent. Because they are directly, as media said, directly involved in the procurement process. And you remember off the mic, when he was saying, is it not the members of this National Assembly that took the contract of the NDDC? Yeah, so that's the point. That's the point on the ground, that once you have members of the legislature compromise because of conflict of interest, accountability is abandoned. And then when you then have a president who is also not interested in accountability, then corruption will have a field day. And that is what we are experiencing right now. I don't see, we also know that the culture of the APC is that you move from your party, if you are involved in any internal corruption, you move from your party and you come to APC and they give you a clean bill of health to become a saint. So it's really a trouble situation, because what it then means is that public resources are increasingly siphoned by those who are in government institutions, because you also know that the public servants will also take a cue. Everybody will try to line up behind those who have access, so that they can also benefit from the resources. In this particular case, it's become very difficult for anybody to try to be upright. And so it is not a particular session that is now currently involved. So that network of corruption now straddled through the civil service, the parliament, and then, of course, the executive arm. And we have seen measures to also make it difficult for the judiciary to give fair and just decisions with the way they have been compromised either by the way resources are deployed to the judiciary or the way through which judges are routinely bribed in order to get the particular kind of outcome that they desire. So I think we have not seen this kind of massive, widespread corruption that straddles all government institutions that we are going through now. I think this government has not only boosted corruption, it has advanced a culture of corruption that now spreads through the three arms of government.
Right.
And it's a big shame.
Right. Okay, let's take this commercial break. When we get back, we'll continue the conversation. Remember, you can drop your comment on Facebook, 32FM 949. You can also call 0906 2000 949, 0809 7000 949, 0705 5000 949 to drop your thoughts on any of the issues we've discussed so far on the show. We'll be back in a moment. To stay with us.
You're listening to 32 FM 94.9.
Golden chance, Lotto money.
Hooray! Lotto lovers, Golden Chance Lotto don't carry boku gifts. Come to reward you as you dey play our games. E don't come with 2 cha-cha games for Sundays. Now every Sunday tonic, blessing and prosper. Play all our games, including the new cha-cha games. Scan our QR code sticker and get a reward instanta. No be only that oh, if you stake up to 50,000 on our new games, blessing and prosper within 3 months, you don't stand a chance to get boku gift for our raffle draw. Now, selling of better life go close by 1:45 p.m. Draw go come for 2 p.m. Blessing go close by 3:15 p.m. Draw for 3:30 p.m. Prosper go close by 5:15 p.m. and draw for 5:30 p.m. You fit play Golden Chance Lotto games for our shops, kiosks, or make you play online. Log on to www.goldenchancelotto.com. If you no get data, no wahala. Our USSD day for you. Dial *7005# on your MTN line. All our gaming platforms. Stay easy. Play, win, and cash out anywhere. No story. Terms and conditions apply. Golden Chance Lotto.
Every day when my children return from school, I don't recognize them. Hello, do I know you?
It's us, mommy.
But these dirty, sweaty uniforms and socks were clean in the morning. Everything don't transform. I understand though. School is hectic. It takes energy to come home this transformed. So I make sure they have some nutritious Milo at breakfast.
Your kids need nourishing energy. Give them Milo at breakfast. It has nutrients that support energy release to help them get the most out of their day. Milo, energy to go further.
Tifa bá wọlé tọ́ ní fàáfàá jífà. 32 FM, the happiness station, is ready to spread happiness again. Yes, ke? Turn don reach for us to make our listeners smile again. Oh, are you ready? Ṣé ti dúró dédé? Àwùfù bẹ̀rẹ̀kẹ̀tẹ̀ don land like traffic light. If true, data is life. Na if you say recharge card go come you wait you. If your finger is fast and you are feeling lucky on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, then keep your dial locked on 32 FM 949. Fẹ̀yẹ́. Nítorí òjò recharge card yóò máa rọ̀ ní gbogbo ọjọ́ Ṣẹ́gun, Ọjọ́rú àti Ọjọ́bọ̀. Ìyẹn ò ní pé every Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday time go reach you. Àwùfù bẹ̀rẹ̀kẹ̀tẹ̀ go dey ṣẹlẹ̀ on top 32 FM 94.9 by 8 a.m., 11 a.m., 1 p.m., 5 p.m. Congo reach 7 p.m. Lẹ́yìn tó túmọ̀ sí pé láago 8 òwúrọ̀, aago 11 àárọ̀, aago 1 ọ̀sán, aago 5 àti aago 7 àṣálẹ́. If it be red network, if it be green network, it still fit be yellow network. Any which way na way, your own na to stay alert and stay active on 32 FM. Ló bá tán, má gòkè la fàwọ́dá.
You want like Vinny Junior? Èmi tí mo phenomenal gangan.
Welcome to Bet Great. Bet on sports. Confirm bonus up to 350% and stand a chance to win with Bet Great. You can cash out and auto cash out whenever you want. So you're always in charge. Na casino game you want? You can pilot yourself with Bet Great on Aviator and much more. And be in cruise control. Join using promo code GOAL and get your welcome free bet. Experience these and much more in our shops or online on betgreat.com. Be great. Bet Great. Bet responsibly. Only 18 plus.
Ọjọ́ wo ni pọ̀pọ̀ ṣìṣìn àyájọ́ ọjọ́ àwọn ọmọdé tí iléeṣẹ́ 32 FM? Oṣù karùn-ún lélẹ́yìí. 32 FM dà. Ṣé a lè ṣe àyájọ́ àwọn ọmọdé láìsí 32 FM ni?
gbọ́ yín a sì mọ èrò ọkàn yín ẹ kú ti mọ̀ wá tẹ́lẹ̀ a dúró tán a sì ní já yín kulẹ̀ ṣẹ́yìn náà ti wá ṣetán fún ayẹyẹ àti pọ̀pọ̀ ṣìṣẹ́ àyájọ́ ọjọ́ àwọn ọmọdé tó máa kílẹ̀ gbìgbìgbì jùlọ nílùú Ìbàdàn Smart Kids and Parents Hangout Season 7 tí yóò wáyé ní Palm Small Ring Road nílùú Ìbàdàn lọ́jọ́ Sunday ọjọ́ karùndínlọ́gbọ̀n oṣù karùn-ún ọdún 2025 Sunday May 25th 2025 ó ti máa dùn jù àwọn ohun ìṣeré fún àwọn ọmọdé bíi bouncing castle tó fún ìgbọ̀ngbọ̀n tí yóò mú káwọn ọmọdé fò fáyọ̀ yóò wà ní ìkàlẹ̀ kíkọ ojú lọ́nà àrà tí yóò mọ̀ dẹ́rìn pẹ̀kẹ́ àwọn ọmọdé eré ọpọlọ ijó orin ẹ̀fẹ̀ ẹ̀rín kéékèèké lẹ́nu àwọn ọmọ bẹ́ẹ̀ náà làwọn daddies and mommy wọ́n máa kópa nínú eré lọ́lọ́kanjọ̀kan pẹ̀lú ẹgbẹ̀rún 5,000 náírà péré 5,000 naira ńlọ́wọ́ ìwọlé èyí wà lẹ́ni òsì nǹkan láti ra tíkẹ́ẹ̀tì ṣagbátẹrù tàbí fún àlàyé síwájú ẹ pè Sùnbọ̀ sórí nọ́mbà yìí 0704 017 4981 tàbí Bọ́láńlé sórí nọ́mbà yìí 0810 067 2518 32 FM 94.9 Ìbàdàn ló ṣagbátẹrù ẹ̀ pẹ̀lú àjọṣepọ̀ Rigros Games Sunchcon Sticks Hallelujah Oil Kellogg's Fammi Pop Cola Techno Boom Design Bricks Viju Accessibles Better Jollof 712 tó fi mọ́ Engineer Akeem Oyèdélé Àlàó ọmọ tèmi ò ní gbẹ̀yìn.
lójú ẹni tí ò mẹ́nu ẹ̀ ayò lásán ni wọ́n pè é àmì èyí gan ni ìtakàngbọ̀n láàrin àwọn akọni orí ọ̀dàn tí kálukú fẹ́ mórí délé ní pápá ìṣeré Allianz Arena PSG àti Inter Milan láṣekágbá ìdíje UEFA Champions League gbogbo àrà tí ó máa ṣẹlẹ̀ níbi ìfẹ́kábágọ̀ òun lórílẹ̀‐èdè Germany láti tẹ́ pẹpẹ rẹ̀ sí Racecourse Amphitheatre Adamasingba Ìbàdàn lọ́jọ́ 21 oṣù tá a wà nù rẹ̀ yìí ìpéjọpọ̀ lásán kọ́lé lẹ́yìn o àjọyọ̀ àwọn olólùfẹ́ eré ìdárayá káàkiri àgbáńlá ayé aago 4 ìrọ̀lẹ́ lẹ́nu lọ́rọ̀ ti là kalẹ̀ àkókò tí wọ́n bá dé yẹn gan nídìí yẹn ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ àwọn ará mẹ́rin ìrí tó tayọ àwọn ìtẹ́ ti mẹ́rin tẹ́lẹ̀ tó fi mọ́ àwọn ẹ̀bùn lórí ìrànràn tó jọjú dáadáa níbi tá a ti rí motorcycle fóònù jẹnẹrétọ̀ àti bẹ́ẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ ìkànnì fẹ́yìn ẹ̀ 32 FM lólùgbàlejò àdàlú ìgbàládùn tó àpòpọ̀ mọ́ eré ìdárayá pẹ̀lú ìrànlọ́wọ́ iléeṣẹ́ sọ̀wédowó betgrace àti iléeṣẹ́ tó pọn tí mímu pẹnọ ricard ọkọ̀ fàájì kò tún gbọdọ̀ dùjú tọ̀tẹ̀ yìí lọ ta lẹni tó fẹ́ gbégbá orókè ṣé PSG tí ò tí ì gbárí ni àbí Inter Milan tó ti gbà tipẹ́tipẹ́ ẹ jẹ́ àjọ fìtàn balẹ̀ nílùú Ìbàdàn ẹgbẹ́ wo bọ́ọ̀lù kẹ́ẹ̀tún jayé jù ẹ ò ní gbàgbé bọ̀rọ̀. iléeṣẹ́ sọ̀wédowó betgrace àti iléeṣẹ́ tó pọn tí mímu pẹnọ ricard ló ṣagbátẹrù ọ̀fẹ́ lówó ìwọlé o. òtítọ́ ni pé ìpọ́njú ń bẹ nínú ayé tí ọ̀pọ̀lọpọ̀ onígbàgbọ́ sì ń káàárẹ̀ ṣùgbọ́n Jésù ti wí fún àwọn ọmọ ẹ̀yìn kí ẹ̀yin kó lè ní àlàáfíà nínú mi inú ayé ẹ̀yin yóò ní ìpọ́njú ṣùgbọ́n ẹ tújú ká mo ti ṣẹ́gun ayé nǹkan wọ̀nyí ni Jésù ti sọ fún wa tẹ́lẹ̀ èyí gan ló mú ìjọ More Than Conquerors Revolutionary Church tó wà ní Sanyo Ìbàdàn wá sórí afẹ́fẹ́ lábẹ́ iṣẹ́ ìránṣẹ́ Pastor Adénẹ́yẹ Martins nínú gbogbo nǹkan wọ̀nyí àwájú ẹni tí ó ṣẹ́gun lọ nípasẹ̀ Kristiani tí ó fẹ́ wa ìwé Róòmù orí 9 ẹsẹ̀ 17 agogo 9:15 àṣálẹ́ ọjọ́ sátidé ní kẹjẹ́ ká fi ìpàdé sí lórí ìkànnì tá a wà yìí 32 FM 94.9 ọ̀rọ̀ Ọlọ́run yóò sì yé wa yéké tí gbogbo onígbàgbọ́ yóò sì fọkàn balẹ̀.
Feel better about your life.
32 FM 94.9, the antidote to depression.
Thank you for staying with us. It's the Podium on 32 FM 94.9. Remember, we're live on Facebook through 2FM 949 FM. Drop your comments there, like and share the video. You can also call 0906 2000 949 0705 5000 949 0829 7000 949 to chime in on the conversation. We've discussed, the issue of budget padding, accountability, and transparency in government. On Facebook, 𝐃𝐈𝐒 says, what's the role of these legislators, both federal and state level? Do they really perform the oversight function? Most of the projects claim to have been supervised are either abandoned or done shabbily. Let me take this call. Hello. Hello. Hello, good morning. Hello. Oh, please call us back if you can. 0906 2000 949. Okay, that's 𝐃𝐈𝐒. He says again, the governor is repairing apparently healthy roads. That is highly commendable. The governor should also look into other roads that are in bad shape and also do the needful. Right. Remember, you can drop your comment 32FM 949 on Facebook and call 0906 2000 949 0705 5000 949 0829 7000 949. So, Barrister, I wanted to also look at the legal angle to the some of the questions you raised earlier about holding the lawmakers accountable. What can the people do in this case? Because the lawmakers were elected there, but we've seen lawmakers who spoke up against this alleged padding or insertion into the budget. We saw how they are treated. Looking at the powers that the people have in terms of a recall process or something, what can be done on the part of the people? Are the people aware enough about the enormity of this problem? That's one. And what action can be taken? Because the National Assembly needs to be held accountable in the process of spending and appropriating government funds. Barrister? Hello, Barrister, are you with me? Oh, it appears. Hello, Barrister, did you get my question?
Oh, Toba.
Yes.
I'm so sorry.
Okay.
I have been infested with the virus that attacked Prof's phone.
Oh, okay. Right. So I was asking.
I was struggling with the buttons.
Oh, okay. All right then. So I was asking, the what you legally speaking, what people can do, to hold the National Assembly more accountable, because as it is, it looks like they are the ones who appropriate the funds. They are the ones who decide who gets what. They make amendments in the document. The question is, if they have those powers, who is going to also check them to ensure that they properly use those powers? Are the people aware enough about the enormity of this problem to be able to hold them accountable? And what kind of steps can people take? Because I know that the recall process is very tedious, very rigorous one, and that's why it has not been successfully executed, by the constituent, those who actually elected. Because these people were elected by Nigerians, by their representatives, and they are the ones, because all of us cannot sit on that seat, so it's a privilege to be the one sitting on the red seat or the green seat, as the case may be. So do people have enough awareness about the enormity of these problems, and what can they do to ensure accountability at that level?
Thank you very much, Toba. From our discussions so far, there is no obfuscation that Nigeria has not been blessed with well-intentioned leaders. At best, we've had mercantilists propelled by self-gains rather than the greatest good for the greatest number. The improbity of the rulers, I agree with you, must be denounced by the people. However, how can the people do so in a country where all the institutions of state have been caged or under siege of the emperor? Let me give you a very good example. Not too long ago, the legislature came up with a bill that it would attract a jail sentence for anybody to decide not to vote at elections. If you look at the bill, you will probably, a stranger would probably think government is trying to enforce the participation of the people in their own government. About 2 days after that, the people, the indigents of the Federal Capital Territory, staged a very peaceful protest. They marched to the National Assembly, demanding a change in the structure of leadership. I think it's the Development Commission for the FCT, where they claimed that a non-indigent had been given a position rightly that of an indigent of FCT. When they got to the National Assembly, very peacefully, they articulated their demands. And they insisted that at least a senator should come out and speak with them. Do you know what happened? They were tear gassed by the police. So, what else can the people do? If the people vote and their votes don't count, if the people want to register their grievances through peaceful protests and they are tear gassed, Omo, Abacha reign. So, what else do you want the people to do? Except one, a revolution, a bloody revolution.
Oh, okay, Barrister.
I hope it is not what the government is calling for.
Okay. All right. Oh, okay. So, okay. Let's take this call. Hello. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Good morning.
Yeah. Good morning, Mr. Toba.
Yes. Your name, sir? Where are you calling
And
from?
good morning to the able prof and the respected barrister, as well the guest, and even though this is you calling from Lagos.
Okay. Go ahead.
Quickly, I have to commend the impacts and contributions of the analysts and the guests. And secondly, on issue of transparency and accountability, it is not something hidden that all of us in Nigeria knew today that the APC-led federal government is completely far from it. And this is one of the major factors that makes a good government: accountability and transparency. In Nigeria today, when you hear go and verify, we know it is attributed to one single politician with a repute. So what can we talk about? It is this same country that a serving minister, finance minister, was called in the Senate to tell Nigerians what to do with, or what has done with the removal of subsidy. He now told you that let's go inside. This is the type of government we are. And when they say that government is a threshold where everything lies, in Nigeria today, when we talk about the APC-led government, a lot of things is attributed to it. But what can we do? We Nigerians are helpless. Only God Almighty will take care. Because a situation where the government, the head of the government, everything about the head of the government, present government of today is questionable. Are you talking about academics? Are you talking of the source of wealth? Are you talking of locality? It is painful. But I know that everything has its own time. Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you. I mean, Prof, if you look at the challenges people have pointed out about the National Assembly, it has also brought up the debate about the loopholes in representative government. Maybe this is why some people are proposing maybe a proportional representation where, political parties will get representation based on the percentage of votes they're able to win. That would make the process more competitive and would make the National Assembly less of a rubber stamp than it is. Prof.
Yes, actually, that suggestion was even made by the West Committee that looked into the nature of politics in Nigeria and to suggest electoral reforms. So I also think that proportional representation is a good idea to experiment with, but I don't know why it has not gained threshold either with the presidency or the National Assembly. In fact, it's supposed to be used both for the National Assembly election and the State Assembly elections. And I think, given this current situation, it's a high time.
Please hold our thoughts, Prof. Please hold our thoughts. Hello. 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 Good morning. Hello. Okay, go ahead, sir. Prof, you can continue. Yes.
One of the good things about proportional representation is that, especially at the local level, it enables even minor parties, people from a little community, can have a group that can take initiative on their own, knowing fully well that even with their limited votes, they can make a difference. But under the first past the post system, it's only the winner that takes all. So if you score like 43%, your vote doesn't really matter because somebody else has already scored 47%. So the 43% is a complete waste. So we have a situation like that where if you go halfway, you will not get anything in return for what you have done, for all the investment you have put into it. So it's a very demoralizing thing. That's why everybody jumped into the bandwagon. So of the winning party, it has a psychological effect. So we really need to experiment with proportional representation for the National Assembly elections and also for the
I'm Prof. From your submission, sir. So it looks like you think this proportional representation is one way to curb defection, because maybe what is driving this defection is the fact that everybody always wants to be on the winning team, and So do you think it would reduce the rate of defection, or if the ruling party is still going to wield its powers and strategize to attract people into its fold? Yes.
It will be very challenging because even according to Duverger's law, is that when you have the first past the post system, what you always have is the convergence of politicians into two or a single dominant party. In fact, you are not likely to have effective multiple parties in that system. So usually the law says that you are likely to have two dominant parties. And so when you have two dominant parties, you now see people moving around those two dominant parties, which was we are experiencing in Nigeria. So under the proportional representative system, multi-parties become meaningful because you can hold your own territory with your small party and control government at that level, even if it's just a state or even a senatorial district. But under the first past the post system, you must join the winning team. Otherwise, all your efforts will not be rewarded.
Or maybe we should also think about a parliamentary model as well. Yes.
I don't think so. And we must also know that the proportional representative system has a variety of ways. You have party lists. There are a variety of ways you can manipulate it. It gives leverage. So we can adjust it in such a way that we get exactly what we want.
So
you have a single party list, the multiple party list, you have how do we put it? You have a constituency-based decisions concerning how the list should be conducted. So it gives us more leverage to even conduct more experiments in order to achieve the kind of accountability that we desire.
Yeah, because when you look at parliamentary proceedings in other African countries like South Africa, for instance, you see the vibrant opposition by Julius Malema of the EFF, especially speaking so boldly and opposing government policies and what have you. Or if you also check the quality of debate in the UK Parliament as well, the Prime Minister questions and all of those things are lacking here. It looks like they're lacking in a presidential democracy. Yes.
Let us not rush that because institutions are always experimental, and there are elements of trial and error, and then there is also element of chance. I mean, the American presidential system, there's a huge debate that goes on in Parliament, and the debates are also very strong. So if you go to Ghana too, you see the debates is much keener than you find in Nigeria. I think a lot has to do with political culture, with even the culture of debate. I mean, look at Nigerian society. Look at what goes on social media. Would you really say that serious debate goes on around issues? Instead, people are bullying each other, shouting at each other, raining curses and insults. So a lot has to do with the culture of debate within society. So if look at the presidential debate, they do it regularly in the United States. But here, how many presidents want to go through presidential debate? They don't even think it's important. They just annulled it.
Well,
so it has to do with intellectual culture. Even within the universities, you are even going into this thing. There are many things that go on now that they don't even put it out for debate, or even for public consideration, because people like autocratic rule. They just want to take decision, and then because those decisions are not necessarily done in the public interest, they don't want to put it out for debate. So it's not about the system; it's about the culture and the character of people. For instance, if we have had the privilege of having presidents like Goodluck Jonathan, who even say, "You will insult me, you can carry on, but when I leave, you know that you understand."
Yes.
So a lot has to do with the quality of leadership. So somebody will say, "It is better that I lose power than lose the blood of ordinary Nigerians." If you don't have those kind of people with that kind of disposition, as people are saying, "I want that contract awarded. I want the thing on." If no visibility study, is that the kind of person that will put something out for debate? So you must first of all believe in the institutions of government, the principles behind them, and how they are expected to work. If you throw away the principle in order just to achieve whatever you want to achieve, that's the kind of result that you get. I mean, it's not, and this thing is very important. The point we are raising is very important, because it's not about government alone. It's about how we run institutions in general. We are not open. We don't want alternative viewpoints. We don't want to subject things to rigorous analysis. We want everything to, all we want is praise, sycophancy. Even when things are going wrong, we want to be praised. I mean, look at what happened with the jam situation that we are talking about. In an exceptional case, you have somebody saying, "Oh, I admit we made a mistake. We are going to right the wrong." So if you don't have situations where people take responsibility, I mean, you said banks are making money, because have banks not always been making money, even in the worst of economic circumstances? Is that a criteria for saying your policy works? Somebody, a youth corper complains, you want to deal with the person. You are not saying what is the basis for that for which that complaint is made. Is it founded? Government is supposed to be responsive, and I think that's the point that we are making.
Right.
That if you have a government that is not responsive to the will of the people, then what are you talking about? Who is the government providing policies for? For them to reach themselves. So we have very fundamental problems that has nothing to do with the type of government, that has nothing to do. So sometimes some of these institutional changes will even have limited impact. Because right now you are talking about, we're talking about proportional representation, and you're already asking, does it make it more difficult for the president or the governor to manipulate everybody? Because that's actually what we are trying to deal with. But it's not all institutional changes that will address those things. So we see a window of opportunity in proportional representation, but there's even a limit to which that can go, to which that can go in that regard. So there are people problems, there are ethical problems, moral problems that we have to deal with, and we can't always assume that morality doesn't count. Because if you say you're working for the good of society and you are working for your own good, it's a different kettle of
Prof, please stay on the line, sir. Sorry. Okay, Prof. I find yes
or not.
Yes.
These are not positions that will lead to anything good.
So
we are after Millennium leaves, what will happen? Because you are hailing this thing. I hope you know what has happened to the ANC.
Yes.
As a political party.
Yes.
Corruption, the disruption. Those who are originally founders of ANC, if they see ANC, they won't recognize it again.
Yes.
So we do have those problems, and we have to deal with them.
Yeah, I mean, Prof, I like the fact that you mentioned the ANC. They also had to even form a coalition for them to stay in government. The last election, it was a woeful performance, the worst performance since they came into power. And that brings me to, because we're about wrapping up the show, that brings me to the meeting between Trump and Ramaphosa. I don't know if you caught that meeting, Prof and Barrister. It was something interesting, generated a lot of reactions across social media. Some called it Trump trying to to bully an African president, also going cap in hand to the United States government, trying to say to them, oh, we are not saying you want to kill the white people. There's no white genocide. We're not grabbing land. But Trump also played Malima's video for Ramaphosa to watch, where Malema was,
I watched it.
Yes. So do you think it was bullying? Some have tried to liken it to what happened between Trump and Zelensky when, the Ukrainian president went to the Oval Office. Yes.
Ramaphosa handled it better than Zelensky. And it's also because he had the benefit of what has happened to Zelensky. Because if you have not seen that one and you happen to counterfront, Trump just uses a street method in a rather what should have been high politics with finesse. So I think that Ramaphosa gave a good account of himself as a matured leader, and he stayed the course. But it just tells you that the problem of politics is not just peculiar to the black race or to Nigeria. I mean, look at the kind of things that Trump is doing. Literally using street wisdom and street behavior, for an American president, it looks very uncool.
Let me go
you can see the kind of damages he has done even to the university system.
Yes.
Harvard is saying in court.
Yeah, because they cannot admit international students. Let me go to Barrister now. I don't know if you also caught it as well, Barrister. Some say this is just a classic example of Trump, as Prof said, trying to use there's something they call in local parlance street sense, to bully or to get a president of a country to do his bidding. Some even say the visit was not necessary in the first place. That South Africa has taken a stance on its land policy, and it should take that stand regardless of that retaliation we saw from the Trump administration, the tariff introduced against them, and all of that. Barrister.
Yes, thank you very much, Toba. But I am sorry, I will have to disappoint you here. Because I have been so bothered about the Nigerian project. I didn't see this so-called interview with Ramaphosa that you're talking about.
Right.
But I want to corroborate the submissions of Prof on the governance document, that many are suggesting should change. I want to agree with Prof that the problem is not in the books. The problem is in those reading the books, particularly those who have the power to give effect to the book. I will take you back to 1787, the only time that the Americans had cause to discuss that governance document was in the Independence Hall in Philadelphia, where the Declaration of Independence was signed. A meeting had been called, the purpose of which was to amend the Articles of Confederation. But the delegates decided to start all over and write a completely new plan of government. So the Articles of Confederation was jettisoned, and then was born the Constitution of America. In 1787, Toba, when that document was signed, it was a mere 12-page document. But there was commitment by the drafters of the document and those that came after them to ensure that the document lived. So, from 1787, that is about 238 years, the American Constitution has endured, only coming with amendments the Fourth Amendment, the Eighth Amendment, the 10th Amendment,
the Fifth Amendment,
and so on, and the Fifth Amendment, and so on. And so it's been all about amending the document to fit into the times.
Right.
Look at Nigeria. Have we not tried parliamentary system before?
We have.
What system of voting have we not tried? It is not the document that is at fault. It is the people operating it. Go and bring any other governance document. If you retain this caliber of people who are propelled, like I said, by self-gains, rather than the Epicurean alternative of the greatest good for the greatest number, then the results will be the same. We need philosopher kings. That is what is missing.
Right.
So Prof was right in his submission.
Right.
And I adopt it as mine.
Right. Okay, we're wrapping up the show now. Thank you very much for being a part of it. Thank you to our guest, Onigbide, that joined us earlier as well.
Are you not going to let us laugh?
Yeah, I'm getting there. You know, my own way of making you laugh is that, Barrister and Prof, I'm expecting 10 children each from you tomorrow for the 32 FM Children's Day Hangout. So,
10 children each.
Yes.
Am I not a children?
So just you need to come to Palmsmore Ring Road, you know, and bring the children there. Prof is sponsoring 20 children, actually 20. Prof, so we're expecting you.
What Barrister got reminds me of a story of a priest who was leaving the parish, and then he had a large farm, so he thought, let me call members of the parish council and hand it over to them, so and ask them to distribute the product to the poor. So when the parish council met, they looked at each other, and the chairman asked one of them, "This thing is for poor people." He said, "Are you rich?" The other man said, "No." He said, "Are you not a poor man?" and they shared the product of the farm among themselves.
They must be Nigerians.
All right. Thank you so much, Prof and Barrister. Thank you. Of course, that's the message to all the parents listening. Just come and have fun with your children at the 32 FM Parent Children's Day Hangout. It's 5,000 naira per child. Location is Palmsmore Ring Road, Ibadan. It's tomorrow, actually, 25th of May, 2025. Thank you to my producer, Bolabo from Moscow. My name is OLORUNTOBA YUSUF. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday morning. The Podium returns 9 a.m. next Saturday. Bye for now.